Is Samsung's newest miniature tablet the best Galaxy Tab yet? We've spent the last 5 days testing, using, and abusing it to try to answer that question. I'm Taylor Martin, this is Pocket Now, and this is our full review of the Galaxy Tab Pro 8.4. If you're keen on Samsung's more recent tweaks to its design language, this particular tablet will be right up your alley. In terms of look and feel, it's virtually a scaled-up Galaxy Note 3. It has the same faux leather backing found on the popular Galaxy Note series, fake stitching lines the perimeter of the backside, and the trim along the edges is a full brushed metal made of plastic. While the materials may not feel utterly premium, the tablet is built exceptionally well, with no bending or creaking when you grip and twist the tablet. It's incredibly lightweight at just 331 grams for the Wi-Fi model, and the bezels up front are, for the most part, minimal. Its physical footprint is comparatively small for the size of display it houses, 219mm tall, 128.5mm wide, and just 7.2mm thick. Its width makes it quite easy to grip with one hand, and unlike other similarly shaped tablets, this one feels pretty natural in portrait or landscape. The internals are also pretty impressive. A 2.3 GHz quad-core Crate 400 CPU and Adreno 330 GPU to make up the Snapdragon 800 chipset, 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB of fixed storage with a microSD card slot for up to 64 additional gigabytes, an 8-megapixel camera on the back, and a 4800 mAh 19.2 Wh fixed battery. It also supports infrared, Wi-Fi AC, and Bluetooth Low Energy, but it lacks USB 3.0 and NFC. But let's not gloss over one of the most impressive aspects of this tablet: the display. At 8.4 inches, the super clear LCD bears a resolution of 2560 by 1600 pixels, an overall density of 359 pixels per inch. The result is a display that is extremely bright, has extra wide viewing angles, great contrast, relatively deep blacks, and colors that pop. The temperature of the display is a tad warm, and it appears as if Samsung is boosting color saturation, as some videos look a tad unnatural, especially with skin tones. It still looks fantastic, even with slightly exaggerated colors. In all, the hardware aspect of this device is not quite as nice as some of its competitors, such as the iPad mini with Retina display or even the understated design of the budget-friendly Nexus 7, but we can't complain about the specs or how well built the tablet is. The software situation has improved somewhat with the most recent generation of Samsung tablets and the latest iteration of Android, KitKat. The Galaxy Tab Pro 8.4 runs Android version 4.4.2 and it features Samsung's newer Flipboard-powered magazine UX. From the home screen, you will find 2 tiled pages by default with user-definable information, such as a calendar, science and technology news, Handcom Office, and other Flipboard-style news feeds. The main home screen, by default, is still the basic Android-style home screen: icons, widgets, and a wallpaper. The application drawer is still accessed by a button in the lower right corner. The notification shade has been improved and optimized for larger screen devices. It's no longer full screen and is center aligned. The UI has been flattened and simplified throughout. And in the notification shade and settings app in particular, we noticed a Tizen OS inspired appearance, to little surprise. Settings icons are now circular, which brings us to our main point. The software seems very conflicted and confused. It doesn't feel completely finished, as there is disparity between the icons in the notification shade and the home screen. The notification shade looks like a mashup of old TouchWiz and Tizen, and the settings app is still the cluttered, jumbled, tabbed, and paned mess. It's cumbersome to use, and slightly altering its appearance hasn't helped its usability at all. Samsung has seemingly trimmed down its smart offerings on this tablet, however, narrowing it to Smart Stay, Smart Rotation, and Smart Pause. And it has improved the loved multi-window feature, at least in how it's accessed, a pull from the right edge of the display. It's no longer indicated by a small tab which clings to either side of the display. Aside from that, it's business as usual with no notable improvements. However, our own Michael Fisher did discover some unusual layout problems within multi-window in landscape, particularly with Twitter and YouTube comments. They seem to work just fine in portrait though. We're happy to see the software at least looks much nicer in this most recent version of TouchWiz, but all the kinks aren't ironed out just yet. Performance on the Tab Pro 8.4, or so you would imagine, should be great. In gaming, multitasking, even watching video while browsing the web is fantastic. In fact, this may be our favorite tablet for gaming yet, thanks to the combination of its size and weight, Snapdragon 800, and the gorgeous display. Need for Speed Most Wanted has been more addicting than usual on this model. But performance isn't exactly buttery smooth all the time. Opening apps, returning home, task switching, and your most casual tasks work fine with few to no hiccups, but we could very nearly create lag on demand by opening an app, returning to the home screen, and trying to flick between the pages. A large portion of our time with this tablet, this would cause a split-second hang once or twice before the system caught up. It's as if the home screen is so large and resource-intensive it causes a short drop in performance. If you can cope with this, performance is about as good as it gets, in gaming, benchmarking, and the usual. The speakers are one of the most upsetting aspects of this tablet, and not necessarily because of the sound they produce, but because of their placement. Sound is loud, albeit rather tinny, but the stereo speakers are along the bottom edge. They don't offer great stereo separation, and they're incredibly easy to muffle, especially in landscape mode. If you plan to watch a movie or play games on this tablet, do yourself a favor and plug in some headphones. Battery life has been acceptable thus far. Through our testing, gaming, and other casual use, we have yet to kill the tablet in a single day. But we don't feel that's impossible to do, especially with how bright the display gets or how hot the backside can get during intense gaming. The 19.2 Wh battery will likely last most 1 to 2 days per charge, and the standby is particularly great. The camera performance is hit or miss. As with most tablets, it's not a priority and usually feels like an afterthought. The Tab Pro 8.4 is no exception to the rule. The 8MP camera around back, set to capture at 6MP by default, works well for stills but will likely leave you wanting more. The images aren't as sharp or colorful as we'd like, and the field of view is narrow. Not only will you look odd holding a tablet up to take a picture, you'll look even stranger than usual holding it up and taking several steps backward to fit everything in frame. At the end of the day, the Galaxy Tab Pro 8.4 is a solid entry from Samsung, one that will compete with the likes of the iPad mini with Retina display quite effectively. We still wish Samsung would use finer plastics or even metal in its design, but we won't complain too much about the leathery texture around back this time. The software has improved somewhat, but hasn't gotten any easier to use or navigate, and it's brought a few tiny performance bugs along for the ride. Of the smaller tablets we've used to date, this is easily the most enjoyable form factor, and Samsung deserves some kudos for that. For more in-depth detail and the final review score of the Galaxy Tab Pro 8.4, be sure to check out the full review at PocketNow.com. Ladies and gents, that's going to wrap up this review. If you enjoyed it, be sure to click the thumbs up button below and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this one in the future. Be sure to follow us in all the usual places, Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus at PocketNow. I'm Taylor Martin. You can find me on Twitter at CasperTech, and I will see you next time.